find out soon enough if that sick stuff is true or not. You are helping criminals without even being aware of it. This was a huge foreshadowing of the events that are now occurring in chapter 190, as Child Emperor's quest to uncover the truth stems from this chapter, as he starts questioning his whole reality with God's planet design in the background of the panel, which just so happens to be how Psychos described God looking similar to the surface of Jupiter. At that very moment, Maratha carefully showcased God trying to take over Child Emperor in page 21 and 22, similar to how Psychos, Tatsumaki, Garo, and Honus Emperor were also enticed by his evil intentions. But that's when Saitama appeared, breaking reality and their spiritual realm. He could hear everything and debunks what these men had to say. Of course, Saitama has the strongest spirit of all humans, and is the reason God is attracted to the planet, like Blast mentioned. Saitama literally states, if you want to do something, just do it yourself, and that becoming evil doesn't give you glory, thus directly opposing God's idea of needing a vessel and humans to do his bidding, therefore giving another foreshadowing to their battle and saving Child Emperor in the process. All of this brings us back to chapter 190, as the news of an S-class hero leaving has shocked the Hyros, who can't bear to see their manpower decrease so drastically. We learned in chapter 184 that the Hero Association is receiving less and less applicants, as well as the likes of Bang retiring and other heroes joining rival organizations. The Hero Association are blinded by greed, however, and have stood for what they originally stood for. Otherwise, the likes of Saitama would be applauded much more, but instead, his credit is taken away and given to others to make him look bad. Despite other heroes they try to recruit, such as Axel and his team of vigilantes, rejected the offer and joined the Neo Heroes instead. A few days before leaving the Hero Association, Wild Emperor actually tried to make a change with the issue which he'd created by gathering the opinions of heroes who has been below, as well as the general public. This highlights the issues in the organization, as well as suggestions to fix things, including a proposal for a new team of heroes for dealing with dragon and above level threats. However, in typical Hero Association fashion, they didn't even bother to read it. Hence, Wild Child Emperor has since been reborn as the new Neo Hero Wild Emperor. And my mask highlights that now one S-class hero is left, it will only open the door for others to follow. And so he suggests a new project, something to help rebuild their falling reputation by creating a new pillar of support that everybody can believe in order to keep them from joining the Neo Heroes. In other words, a perfect hero. Remember that this is originally what motivated Saitama to become the god-level being he is going to reach. During his childhood, he always wanted to be a hero, but after deeming himself to be too weak for society, he had all but given up until he saw a kid in danger. This kid was actually the grandson of the man who found the Hero Association in honor of Saitama. And so, without the kid's belief, it would have never existed. Thus, it's pretty poetic that despite them ignoring all of his deeds, since then, he would be the one to mark a new era for the organization. Despite this, the Hero Association aren't quite sure about Amai-Mask's recommendation, even if he did max out the endurance test, because he isn't exciting enough. And so Amai-Mask exposed their narrow-mindedness, revealing that whilst they've been all sat on their arse doing nothing, he's been out there expanding his reach to politics, government, business, and everything in between. Early on in the story, he developed a fascination with Saitama. We see an example where he was given the footage of the Sea King's defeat following the Deep Sea King arc, where it was obvious that he was impressed, as if he was anticipating Saitama to go straight to the very top. Later, he saw Saitama battle Garo, and he immediately became fixated on it. Saitama was the epitome of unmatched strength, and the real hero in Amai-Mask's eyes. That's why he uses the Caped Baldy as a measuring stick to see if someone is truly worthy of being their hero. Thus, he is willing to gamble the future of the association on making Saitama the perfect hero. This was further exemplified when Saitama overcame his urges to make a ton of money in hero gambling to instead stay home and develop. My name is Marie. I'm 49 years old and I'm a business owner. I lemonade and ice cream shop in Florida. So I can feel and see that my lines have gotten deeper just from a year out in the sun. I'm still Marie, and I got Botox cosmetic. I did not want a dramatic change. I wanted something subtle, and I'm really, really happy with the results. It's subtle, but with your life. Botox cosmetic is FDA approved. It's temporarily found lines, protein, and forehead lines look better. The effective Botox cosmetic is spread hours to weeks after injection. Alert your doctor right away, and difficulty swallowing, speaking, had her purse snatched, all because his instincts as a hero kicked in. Meanwhile, McCoy leaves a My Mask's presentation as he receives a call from the Neo Heroes. Those with the notification bell on will have already known that this high-ranking hero exec was a traitor behind the scenes, aiming to trash the association's reputation. He's been doing his own research into a My Mask, thus learned his true identity as a monster. And so he plans to leak this information to all the groups he has come close to within politics and business, etc., in order to create a massive scandal that would harm both his and the Hero Association's reputation. Additionally, the Neo Heroes would then gain credit for taking down the evil hero traitor known as a My Mask. And so if you can't already tell, the Neo Heroes are pretty corrupt too, as they've taken on board McCoy's illegal gambling activities, but tenfold, as they also bet on the monsters to win too, meaning that they will happily support the death of the hero if it makes them some extra dollar in the process. The difference is, the top Neo Heroes are involved in this, which is when we see them. These guys here are the new equivalent to the S-Class, but are all involved in McCoy's corruption, along with another member named Ryuma, a former gangster who is spearheading the whole gambling behind the scenes. The other five that we see are as follows. First, there is A. He was once a criminal which the Hero Association had set an A-Class level bounty for on his head. He used to be an assassin whose objective is to commit as many murders as possible before passing away. Yeah, Neo Heroes aren't sounding too great. Next up is Axel, who we mentioned earlier had been offered a role as an S-Class hero, but turned it down as he believed that the safety of humanity wasn't in the Hero Association's best interest. Excuse me, mate, but you might want to look in the mirror. Webber Garza is another, and she acts as a parallel to a My Mask, as she too is a former idol singer. Her motivation, in fact, is a My Mask. Not because she looks up to him or anything, but in fact the opposite. She hates him to the point of sheer jealousy. Thus took a hiatus from the entertainment industry to undergo cybernetic enhancement to pursue a career in heroics, to the point where 71% of her body is now robotic. Another cyborg on their team is Zaydas, who is not experienced in battle, but instead offers a hefty sum of money as one of the Neo Heroes' first and top investors. The final one we're introduced to, though, is Infelsinate, the founder of the Church of Otherworldly Reincarnation, a religious cult of over 900,000, all of which are devoted to the Neo Heroes. Now, if you want to experience even more peak fiction, then I highly recommend that you check out this video on your screen right now. No, seriously, click.
What dog is it? The criminal enterprise in the White House, aka President Biden with his family, may have received even more money than what we've been told.
Question is, what was Hunter Biden doing to earn access to this money?
What the bro, hold on. Let me go ahead and say I already know there's a lot of chat. You just watching. There's a lot of media in here right now. There's a lot of boomers in here right now. There's a lot of everybody in here right now. Okay, listen to me. Okay, first of all, I want to go ahead and say I'm still taking this whole thing in right now, chat. Bro, this is insane.
Do you know the U.S. solar company's nasty little secret? It turns out if you live in New York, they have to give you solar panels for absolutely no net cost. All you have to do is ask. Solar companies in the U.S. are trying everything to keep this away from the public. This is slowly leaking out. All because of me.
The criminal enterprise in the White House, aka President Biden with his family, may have received even more money than what we've been told.
Question is, what was Hunter Biden doing to earn access to this money? Republicans on the House Oversight Committee say the new records detail a pay-to-play scheme, proof of $20 million sent to the Bidens from foreign business sources. Now, the committee says Russian, Ukrainian, and Kazakh oligarchs funneled money to companies tied to Hunter Biden. A Russian billionaire sent $3.5 million to a shell company associated with Hunter Biden's business partner Devin Archer. Then Vice President Biden dined with the billionaire in Washington. Another example has Ukrainian money going to Archer and Hunter Biden. Later, Burisma put Hunter Biden on the board.
The process involves a foreign country or foreign national wiring money to a fake company. Then the fake company would then turn around and wire the money to the Biden family members. They did this to hide the source of the revenue because they weren't supposed to get money from many of these countries.
I mean, they just couldn't pass up on all those great opportunities, right? But even with the evidence mounting against them and their cash flow running up to the millions and millions of dollars, some people are still saying that this is not something that should lead to an impeachment. Really?
House Republicans have now received bank records showing that Biden's been paid a total of $20 million from foreign countries that they can identify. Nancy Mace said it was upwards of $50 million, by the way. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, however, told House Republicans to pump the brakes when it comes to impeaching President Biden, saying that impeachment ought to be rare and it is not good for the country.
Okay, so wait, this means that the House Republicans have evidence that they subpoenaed from banks, right? They got all this information that will allegedly prove that President Joe Biden was involved in a pay-to-play scheme as he received millions and millions of dollars, and their minority leader at the Senate says, hold your horses? I knew these two were friends, but I didn't think that they were this close.
Mitch McConnell, Mitch, I don't want to hurt your reputation, but we really are friends. and that is not an epiphany we're having here at the moment. You've always done exactly what you said. You're a man of word, you're a man of honor. Thank you for being my friend.
Well, birds of a feather flock to... Anyway, you know how it goes. So this move from Mitch McConnell, one that I understand and I totally get it, alright? It's not great for the country, but you gotta think, is it better to have a president who accepts money from foreign countries? Sorry, wrong term. I meant to say a president who accepts bribes from foreign countries. Man, I'm just waiting for the next distraction from all of this. Like, what could it be? Will they find a cure for cancer again? Social media censorship? Heck, why not post a wanted sign in the White House with Trump's face on it? I mean, they're gonna have to really go above and beyond and really make people forget about the fact that he received like $20 million, because that's not chump change. Do any of you guys think that's a small number? Now, before you answer that, make sure you're still subscribed to the channel and make sure you smash that like button like there's no tomorrow. Alright? Appreciate you guys. So yeah, $20 million, huh? It's probably money that could help fund programs here in our country. You know what I'm saying, right? Not that they would do it, I'm just saying that they could have done that. So one program that the president hasn't delivered on, at least, you know, that's what the critics are saying, is the protection of our borders. So Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who's probably the biggest threat to President Biden within his own party, actually visited the borders. He wasn't there for no photo op. He actually saw the issue with his own two eyes.
Hey everybody, I'm at the border wall around Yuma, Arizona. It's about 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm a week You can see the end of the wall down there. And we've watched about 150 people come across. In the last hour, about 50 or 60 people from Africa, from West Africa. This group that's behind me right now, we interviewed many of them. They're from Peru, Afghanistan, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Afghanistan, Bangladesh, India, China, Tibet, Nepal, and altogether, people have come across right here from 117 nations in the last couple of years. In 3 years, in total, 70 million people have come across the border illegally into our country. And from here, they're put on these buses, and they're walked to the Border Patrol station where they're processed. After 4 or 5 days, they're released on their own reconnaissance into our country, and most of them are never seen or heard from again. And the stories that we heard from these people are absolutely heartbreaking. This is a humanitarian crisis because of the understanding across the globe that we now have an open border here.
Now, if you guys remember, RFK didn't agree with Trump about this wall before, but since he saw it for himself, I mean, like, what better way to understand the problem than going there yourself, right? But nope. President Biden is way too focused on other things to think about the border. I mean, I think he spent more time in Ukraine compared to the borders. But did you know, and this is just some trivia for you guys, if we had spent all the money that we sent over there here at home, that's around $66 billion, give or take, right? So around $66 billion in taxpayer money, that much money would have built the border wall almost 2 times over. Seriously, guys, the priorities literally boggle the mind. But hey, you got your own opinions about this thing. Do you believe that foreign nations should benefit from taxpayer money before Americans? That's an idea. But sadly, it seems to be the reality. What's the biggest threat?
I'm glad that was on stream.
Wars, famine, food shortages? None of the above, folks. It's climate change. That's right, guys. The 2 words that the federal government has spoken time and time again and has been used as a reason as for many of their agendas. A reason for them to try and push for some really, how do I call them? Crazy policies.
I want to stop all drilling in the East Coast and the West Coast and in the Gulf. But I'm lost in court. We're still pushing really very hard. Look, the alternative is you get everything is better as we have the private sector's coming up the sidelines and the next they're building solar facilities, they're building, electrolyzers, big hydrogen, turning it. I mean, there's so much going on. Finally, no one can any longer deny that we don't have a problem with climate change.
You know, there are times, like, this is facts. There are times that I'm not quite sure where his sentences start or end. I'm not even joking here. I just want to point that out because, I listen to every word and man, it's kind of like listening to different languages sometimes. Let's talk about what he said, though. He wants to stop all drilling. Well, what does he expect to put in our fighter jets and our tanks? Batteries? And again, some of you guys might find that funny, trying to put in some AA batteries. But think about the national security here. I mean, like, how are we supposed to defend the country when our planes and tanks don't even have fuel? Is this really the problem that he should be worried about? You know what is the problem here at home? Drugs. And where are they going through? What? He's now come full circle with this story because look what Border Patrol sees there. Not like just 121 pounds of cocaine, but this isn't a big problem, right? So anyway, what's the street value of that thing? Almost $4 million. Do you think that the federal government has their priorities right? Make sure you guys let me know what you think in the comment section down below. I love reading your comments. And I also want to thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. I appreciate it. Share this video, like this video, subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.
The God cards are a series of monsters which have their own specific type and attribute that were created just for them, and is used for no other cards in the game. So you would think that an archetype that was so important that it was given its own type and attribute, something that's not done for anything else, would be somewhat game-changing. But at the best of times, God cards were nothing more than a niche tech option. There are 5 Divine Beast-type monsters in the game, which are also the only 5 Divine Attribute monsters in the game. Of those 5, 2 of them are just different forms of the Winged Dragon of Ra, and basically interact exclusively with that card. Also, each of the 3 original God cards has individual support, with the Winged Dragon of Ra eclipsing all of them when it comes to the amount of support it's received. To start off, let's go over Obelisk the Tormentor.
I don't
This
have
was
an
the
out,
first
nor
God
will I
card
be able
released in
to.
2010
So
in
he
the game,
wins.
and released a couple of years earlier in the OCG. Despite the God cards being incredibly linked to each other, they were all released at different times in both the OCG and TCG for some reason. In the anime, the God cards were basically Ultimate Falcons on legs, with actual good effects, because they were basically immune to everything, and had like 20 different effects that could apply to whatever situation they needed. The God cards kind of acted as video game boss monsters, where they had different phases and different kinds of effects, depending on what kind of things you had in the field, or whatever they thought would be cool for that moment. So when they transferred these ridiculously broken cards over to the real game, where there just literally was not enough text on a card in order to print what they had, they went with a rather lackluster option of just giving them a handful of the effects they once had, while also ignoring a lot of the protection that would probably have made them playable. That is, except for Obelisk. Obelisk is a 4,000 attack that requires 3 tributes to normal summon. This normal summon cannot be negated, and when normal summoned, other cards and effects cannot be activated during that window, a trait that all 3 of the God cards share. Then Obelisk goes on to have its own effects, where, on a spell speed 1, you contribute 2 monsters you control, including itself, to destroy all monsters your opponent controls. However, this card cannot attack during the turn it activates this effect. If this card is special summoned, it's sent to the graveyard during the end phase. And finally, neither player can target this monster with card effects. It was this last line of its effect that allowed Obelisk the Tormentor to actually see competitive play. When it was first released in 2010, gigantic monsters that cannot be targeted were kind of rare, and non-targeted removal was even rarer. So bringing out Obelisk the Tormentor could be paramount to having an unstoppable boss monster on the field, simply because it had high attack while being untargetable. Nowadays, though, the average meta deck can easily bring out multiple forms of non-targeting removal of monsters that can beat over Obelisk the Tormentor by battle, which was not the case in the early 2010s. So Obelisk the Tormentor was often used as a single one-of in frog decks, since back then they were geared more towards tribute fodder for Monarchs and Lightning Darkness Dragon, and when Dragon Ruler came out in 2013, Obelisk the Tormentor saw play as a side tech option in the mirror match, because Dragon Ruler decks themselves had a hard time with non-targeting removal, or getting more than 4,000 attack on the field. But it was only really a side deck option because the main other meta threat at the time, Spellbooks, had their best form of removal in Spellbook of Fate, which was a non-target banish. But then, after the Dragon Ruler format had its power level reined in by some choice bans, new support cards were released, Obelisk the Tormentor fell out of play, and then kind of stopped seeing competitive play ever since. However, Obelisk was only the second most played God card in the competitive scene, as we'll see a little bit later on in this video. Next up, we have the Winged Dragon of Ra. This card was released 2 years later in 2012, or 2009 in the OCG, and has the same summoning protection effects as Obelisk the Tormentor, and also on its summon, its attack and defense become equal to the amount of life points you pay when you summon the card, where you can pay all but 100 life points in order to grant this card that amount of attack and defense. And you are not able to choose the amount of life points you pay, you have to pay all but 100. So if you summon this card with a full 8,000 life points, it will have 7,900 attack and defense. The Winged Dragon Roll also has an effect where it cannot be special summoned at all. And finally, it has a non-once per turn effect, where you can pay 1,000 life points in order to destroy one monster on the field, which is kind of counterintuitive with its attack gain effect, because you won't actually be able to destroy anything unless you find a way to gain life points after you bring out the Winged Dragon of Ra. And the first version of Winged Dragon of Ra was absolutely terrible. It had no protection like Obelisk, which was strange that they decided to regress the protection of the God cards rather than adding more onto it, so its attack point gain could be reset by any kind of a negate that just kind of breathed on it. And it was already making you super vulnerable for activating its attack gain effect in the first place, because you only had 100 life points left, and Gagaga Cowboy was a very common staple the following years after it came out, which could burn you for 800 points of damage on a generic rank 4 summon. Of the 3 original God cards, the Winged Dragon of Ra was easily the worst, which is kind of funny because the anime counterpart that it was based on was the most overpowered out of the main 3, which is probably why they gave it a massive God cards so much, but it obviously wasn't in order to make them stronger. Slifer the Sky Dragon has the effect tied to its summoning condition, better share with the previous two, and its attack defense are based on the cards you have in your hand times 1,000. And unlike the Winged Dragon or Raw, this card can be special summoned. It's simply sent to the graveyard during the end phase, just like Obelisk the Tormentor. And finally, if a monster is summoned to your opponent's side of the field in attack position, they lose 2,000 attack, and then if the monster's attack is reduced to 0, it's destroyed, which is actually a really good effect. This would be an excellent floodgate effect to have on another monster that wasn't so difficult to bring out and lacked absolutely all kinds of protection. Since, just like the Winged Dragon or Raw, they didn't give Slifer the Sky Dragon any form of air protection, where it would definitely have benefited from being untargetable like Obelisk. Over the years, they did release some generic support for the God cards, either in the form of cards which interacted with their Divine Beast tag or Divine Attributes, the cards specifically, or allowed you to tribute summon with the 3 tributes easier. In 2014, they released Mound of the Bound Creator, which is a field spell card that makes it so level 10 or higher monsters in the field can be targeted or destroyed by card effects. In addition, if one of these monsters destroys the monster by battle, your opponent takes 1,000 points of damage. And then, if this card in the field is destroyed, you get to add a divine monster from your deck to your hand. So the floating effect of Mound of the Bound Creator is one of the few ways to actually search out the 3 God cards. Now, its on-field protection actually gives the God cards protections they probably should have had built in, as being indestructible as actually good. And the field spell card was obviously made in order to try to rectify some of the early design choices of the 3 original God cards. Although requiring the field spell card to be on the field, which itself doesn't have any protection, didn't really solve the problem. In fact, it was mostly played in non-God card decks to make use of the fact that it works on any level 10 or higher monsters, if it was used at all in competitive play. In the same year, they also released Raw's Disciple, which is a monster that can special summon 2 other copies of itself from your hand or deck on its summon. However, the card then has restrictions, where you cannot tribute these cards, except if it's for the tribute summon of the 3 original God cards, as it lists all of them exactly by name, and also you cannot special summon other monsters, except by the effect of Raw's Disciple. So, funnily enough, because of this card's restrictions on locking you into not being able to special summon other monsters, it's actually a really good card to give to your opponent with something like Give and Take, in order to completely lock them out of special summoning monsters. It is actually what got Give and Take limited in movement, because it was one of the few ways to lock down your opponent, since they don't really have floodgates included in the game. However, since Raw's Disciple didn't actually give you an additional summon, just provided 3 monsters that field to be tributed for the God cards, it's actually not that useful for bringing them out. 2 years later, in 2016, they released a card called True Name. This card is meant to be another searcher for the God cards, although it's actually harder to use than Mound of the Bound Creator, because what you do in order to activate the effect is declare a card name, then look at the top card of your deck. The top card of your deck is that card name, then you get to add it to your hand, then you get to take a divine monster from your deck, and either add it to your hand or special summon it from the deck. However, if you get the name incorrect, then you just send the card to the graveyard. And since the Winged Dragon Raw can't be special summoned, the card only really works to bring out Obelisk the Tormentor or Slifer the Sky Dragon.
Plus, it comes in a durable paperboard gum bottle that can weather pretty much anything. Yes.
Very impressive.
You think so?
At AT&T, it's worth a new Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 5. Any year, any condition. Even that condition.
Dragon Raw can be special summoned, the card only really works to bring out Obelisk the Tormentor or Slifer the Sky Dragon. In 2020, along with some Winged Dragon Raw support, they released a card called Egyptian God Slime, which is a fusion monster that can be brought out by tributing a level 10 aqua monster with 0 attack. So cards like the trap card Metal Reflect Slime. And while it's on the field, it can't be destroyed by battle, has 3,000 attack and defense, and can be treated as 1 or 3 tributes for the tribute summon of a monster. So obviously, an excellent card in order to bring up the God cards, just as long as you play Metal Reflect Slime, which can be searched out of the deck immediately during the battle phase with Reactor Slime, and then activated the same turn. Or with the Raw support card Guardian Slime. And Egyptian God Slime is definitely one of the better cards released in order to help bring out the original God cards, although it's not the best one. In 2021, they released a whole bunch of other support cards for the God cards, including a card called Soul Cross. It's a quick play spell card that allows you to tribute 1 Divine Beast monster from your hand, and allows you to tribute monsters on both players' side of the field. So basically, you can use Soul Crossing in order to tribute previous monsters for one of your God cards, which is easily the best way to bring one of them out. However, because Soul Crossing is actually good with its effect, because it even gives you an additional normal summon for is that if you use this card, you can only use one card or effect per turn, not counting a God Card's effect, and this restriction lasts until the end of your next turn. So, if you use this during your opponent's turn, you can only use one card effect in your next turn. However, another distinction of this card over other similar things like the Monarch Stormfort or Soul Exchange is that Soul Crossing actually works on immune boss monsters, because it treats the effect as a tribute summon, rather than the effect of a spell card allowing you to tribute your opponent's monsters, which is a distinction that matters for things like Ultimate Falcon. So Soul Crossing is definitely one of the best pieces of God card support created, which is why it has that really awful restriction to allow you to do anything else for the 2 turns after using it. Also, the same year they released Divine Evolution, which is a buff for one of the God cards or the Wicked versions, which gives it 1000 attack and defense, makes it so all of their effects are spell speed 4, and if they declare an attack, forces your opponent to send one monster they control to the graveyard. There's also the Ultimate Divine Beast, a continuous trap card which has the effect where if your opponent declares an attack, you can discard a spell or trap card from your hand in order to special summon a Divine Beast monster from your graveyard defense position and redirect the attack to that monster. And then near the end phase, if you control a Divine Beast monster, you destroy all cards your opponent controls and activate their effects from the field this turn. And both of these cards seem like they'd be pretty good God card support, except for the fact they kind of don't really help getting the cards on the field or in the graveyard, and they might be considered more of a win-more option in the case of Divine Evolution, or the second effect of Ultimate Divine Beast. However, you may even think Ultimate Divine Beast literally special summons Obelisk or Slifer to the field every turn. How could this possibly not be a good card to get the God cards out? Well, the devil is really in the details in this case. It only activates its effect if your opponent declares an attack. If they still, your opponent activates the trigger, which is the reason why cards like Mirror Force don't really see play, even though you can destroy all of your opponent's access to monsters, but Lightning Storm sees play pretty much every side deck, even though it has an effect to do the same thing. Relying on a battle trigger is one of the worst kinds of triggers. It is just too slow in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Additionally, it requires you to discard specifically a spell or trap card in order to activate the effect, which means you can't use discard a God card to the graveyard in order to help set up its effect. So you need some other way to get the God cards to the graveyard. And some of the best cards to discard are monster cards, because graveyard effects are just much more common on monsters than they are on spell or trap cards. But in addition to these more generic God card support cards, they did also have a series of incredibly specific ones. Let's go over Obelisk and Slifer first, since they definitely have the least amount. When it comes to specific support cards for Obelisk himself, he only really has one that's released in the TCG called Fist of Fate, where it's a quick play spell card that can only be activated if you control Obelisk the Tormentor, where it allows you to negate the effects of one monster your opponent controls and destroy it, and then if you do, for the rest of this turn, it negates all effects of that monster with the same original name, kind of in the same way as Called by the Grave. In addition, the activation of this card cannot be negated, and it does not target, so it can be seen as a way to outpower boss monsters, and it gains an additional effect if activated in your domain phase, where you get to also destroy all spell and trap cards your opponent controls. Now, this card definitely seems like a strong card. It's a quasi-spell speed for destruction of one of your opponent's monsters that does not target, and it negates its effects. So it can remove pretty much anything your opponent controls other than something that's just immune to card effects. And then it's a Harpy's Feather Duster on top of that. But this is just another win more card that doesn't actually help get Obelisk on the field in the first place, or search it out, which has historically been the hardest thing to do with the God cards. There's also 2 pieces of Obelisk support in the OCG that are not released in the TCG yet, which are a little bit better at actually helping getting Obelisk on the field. One of them is called Low Energy Max, which is a trap card that allows you to tribute 2 monsters you control if you control an Obelisk, in order to destroy as many monsters your opponent controls as possible, and then inflict 4,000 points of damage to your opponent. And this effect is actually one of the highest amounts of hurt damage inflicted by a single card. So requiring Obelisk and 2 tributes to use the effect is definitely warranted. The better part about this card is definitely its graveyard effect though, where during the battle phase you can banish this card from your graveyard in order to add Obelisk to your hand from your deck or graveyard, then immediately you can normal summon that Obelisk if you have the required materials. And then there's Magical Trick Mirror, which is another normal trap card that has the effect where, if your opponent declares an attack, you can target 1 spell card in your opponent's graveyard in order to set it to your field. And then its more useful effect is tied to its graveyard effect, where you can banish this card from your graveyard in order to send a monster reborn from your hand or field to the graveyard in order to special summon Obelisk from the graveyard in defense position. And then if it activates its effect during your opponent's turn, all of your opponent's monsters must attack that Obelisk. And since it has 4,000 defense, and this card can be used during the battle phase, it could be a way to do a lot of defensive reflect damage to your opponent. And outside of these 3 cards, Obelisk doesn't really have any other specific support cards that's just for him. Next up we have Slifer the Sky Dragon. When it comes to specific support for Slifer, it really only has Thunder Force Attack, which is a quick play spell card that can only be activated if you control Slifer the Sky Dragon on the field, and just like Fist of Fate, its activation cannot be negated. And it has the effect to destroy as many face-up attackers and monsters your opponent controls as possible. And then it has an additional effect, if it's activated in your main phase, where you get to draw a number of cards equal to the monster's destroy with the effect, but you can only attack with one monster during its turn. Which again seems like an amazing effect, since it's basically a Raigeki that can draw you a whole bunch of cards. But since it doesn't let you get Slifer out the field quicker, it's actually not that useful, because that is definitely the biggest problem with God cards. The resources to just get them on the field in the first place are so difficult to accomplish when you're trying to play through your opponent's disruptions, that anything that requires a specific named God card to be on the field, when they're already hard to search out, is just not viable no matter what their effects are. And Slifer doesn't really have any other support specific to it, except for the Joker's Straight archetype. You see, there's a series of support for these 3 cards, which allows you to really easily get 3 monsters in the field with their spell card called Joker's Straight, which allows you to special summon a Queen's Knight from your deck at the cost of a discard from your hand, then allows you to add a King's Knight from your deck to your hand, then immediately normal summon, which will proc King's Knight's effects in order to special summon Jack's Knight from your deck. And since Joker's Straight is a straight get 3 monsters in the field without using up your normal summon, it has restrictions where you can't special summon from the extra deck for the rest of the turn except for Light Warrior monsters. And the card recycles itself to your hand during the end phase. And this definitely allows you to use those 3 monsters to go into any of the God cards. But the reason this archetype is more specific to Slifer is because of one of their support cards called Thunderspeed Summon, which is a quick play spell card that has the effect where, during the main or battle phase, immediately after the effect resolves, you can summon one monster, or if you control the 3 King's Knight cards, you can apply an additional effect which allows you to add a level 10 non-dark monster with question mark for attack from your deck to your hand, where you then immediately normal summon a level 10 monster. And what do you know, Slifer is a non-dark level 10 monster with question mark for attack and defense. Although, so is the Winged Dragon of Ra. So I guess technically it could be support for both of these cards. Speaking of that, let's go over the Winged Dragon of Ra. The Winged Dragon of Ra has received way more support specifically than all of the other God cards, probably combined, as 2 of the 5 Divine Beast monsters in the game are just different forms of the Winged Dragon of Ra. We have the Winged Dragon of Ra Immortal Phoenix, which can only be summoned from the graveyard if the Winged Dragon of Ra is sent from the field to the graveyard, and cannot be special summoned from the place. When it's summoned, other cards and effects cannot be activated in response to it. It's baseline immune to other card effects, has 4,000 attack and defense, and you can pay 1,000 life points in order to send a monster from the field to the graveyard on a non-once per turn effect. And then during the end phase, this card is sent to the graveyard, where you can then summon the Winged Dragon of Ra Sphere mode from your hand, deck, or graveyard, ignoring its summoning conditions. So, the Winged Dragon of Ra Immortal Phoenix kind of has the effect the original one should have had, being immune to card effects and having a high baseline attack and defense, while being able to actually use its effect to send your opponent's monster. Get NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube TV on us. Get a free test on Galaxy B.5, only on Verizon. While being able to actually use its effect to send your opponent's monsters to the graveyard. Although, since the activation requirement requires you to have the card in the graveyard already, and you have the Winged Dragon of Ra, and then enter the graveyard while it's there, it's really more of a gimmick than it's an actual useful card. Unlike the card it actually summons from the deck during the end phase. Next up, we have the Winged Dragon of Ra Sphere mode, which is easily the most used God card, and is actually just a pure staple card that has seen tons of competitive play. Which is kind of funny because it's just a random side support for the Winged Dragon of Ra, the worst God card, which technically makes Sphere mode the best God card by a mile because of its massive success. As what it does is it cannot be special summoned, and in order to normal summon this card, you can use 3 monsters on either side of the field. And that's the main benefit of this card. You can tribute this card with 3 of your opponent's monsters, which bypasses pretty much all card effects, except the ones which would prevent you from normal summoning in the first place. So if your opponent is playing a whole bunch of unbeatable monsters, or just a whole bunch of monsters with negatives or quick effects, what you can do is assign in the Winged Dragon of Ra Sphere mode during game 2 in order to easily out all of them with the least amount of resources, i.e. just 1 monster from your hand, and use it to normal summon. There aren't really cards that count full unbeatable boss monsters with your hand with the Winged Dragon of Ra Sphere mode, to the point where sometimes people only end up with 2 or less monsters just to play around Sphere mode if they think their opponent has one, which is also a benefit. Sphere mode also has the effect where, if you're actually using this card's God card support abilities, you can tribute this card in order to special summon the Winged Dragon of Ra from your hand or deck, ignoring its summoning conditions, and then setting its attack and defense to 4,000. So actually, a pretty good way of bringing out the original Winged Dragon of Ra. Especially if you have Immortal Phoenix in your graveyard ready to come out if it's simply breathed upon because it still has no protection. And then they also released a couple of other Winged Dragon of Ra support cards. There's Guardian Slime, which can special summon itself from your hand when you take damage, and allows you to search out a Winged Dragon of Ra spell or trap card from your deck if it's sent from your hand or field to the graveyard. There's also Ancient Chant, which allows you to actually search out the Winged Dragon of Ra from your deck, and then immediately allows you to tribute summon one additional monster during your main phase's turn, which is actually a great piece of support for a specific god card, because it actually does the ever important thing of allowing you to search out the card, which all the other specific god card supports are lacking. Really, they should print an Ancient Chant for both Obelisk and Slifer, and it's kind of a shame that it only works on the Winged Dragon of Ra. Additionally, it has a graveyard effect, where you can banish this card from your graveyard in order to make it so that if you tribute some of the Winged Dragon of Ra this turn, its original attack and defense become the original attack and defense of the monster distributed for the tribute zone. And since this is a lingering effect granted by a spell card, it actually keeps the attack gains if it's negated on the field, since you can't negate a lingering effect, except if you move the card from the field or flip it face down. There's Millennium Revelation, which allows you to send a Divine Beast monster from your hand to the graveyard to search out Monster Reborn. And then has another effect where you can send this card from your field to the graveyard in order to allow you to use Monster Reborn to special summon the Winged Dragon of Ra from your graveyard, ignoring its summon conditions. But then you have to send the Winged Dragon of Ra from your field to the graveyard during the end phase. There's Dark Spell Regeneration, which is a trap card that can only be activated when your opponent declares an attack, that allows you to steal a spell card from your opponent's graveyard. It has a graveyard effect in order to send a monster reborn from your hand or field to the graveyard, special summon the Winged Dragon of Ra from your graveyard, ignoring its summoning conditions. Then it sends one monster your opponent controls to the graveyard. There's Sun God Unification, which is a continuous trap card that allows you to basically copy the effect of the Winged Dragon of Ra's normal summon of paying all your life points only have 111 in order to grant that amount of attack to your Winged Dragon of Ra. And then has an effect where you contribute a Winged Dragon of Ra in order to gain those life points back. And since it's a continuous trap card, can be used in response to your Winged Dragon of Ra maybe getting destroyed by one of your opponent's card effects. And finally, there's Blaze Cannon, the specific quick play spell card made for the Winged Dragon of Ra in the same vein as Fist of Fate and Thunder Force Attack, where its activation effect can't be negated and allows you to grant the Winged Dragon of Ra you control 3 effects, where it becomes unaffected by one of the card effects, and if it declares an attack, you can contribute any number of your monsters that did not declare an attack in order to give their attack points to Ra. Then, after damage calculation, if you attacked, you can send all monsters your opponent controls to the graveyard, with all 3 of these effects only lasting until the end phase of this turn. Now, what's funny with all these support cards of the Winged Dragon of Ra is that each of these new pieces of support are just trying to give the original Winged Dragon of Ra back some of the effects it had from the original anime, to kind of give you an indication of how many effects the original God cards had, and how completely stripped of them they were when they were imported to the actual card game. And even with all of this support, the Winged Dragon of Ra still hasn't really seen any competitive play, even though the Winged Dragon of Ra Spear mode has seen mountains amounts of success.
I don't mind that.
So, now that we've gone
It's not
through
like
the God
it's
cards
really
and
all
all of
that
their support,
damaging.
why exactly did the God cards fail as an archetype
It's like,
mechanic?
okay.
Well, because, funnily enough, they're actually really hard to search out, and you have to build your entire deck around them in the first place.
I don't even care
Only
about
the Winged
that.
Dragon of Ra
Come
has
on.
a card that specifically searches it out in the TCG, with the other 2 God
In case
cards
of
just kind of rely
2600.
on generic support that requires you to jump
Okay.
through hoops in order to really search them out. You can search out Obelisk with Card of the Soul, though, but only if you still have 8,000 life points left. And Slifer
Yo.
with Undersea Summon, but only if you have 3 specific monsters on the field. In addition to them actually being difficult to search out in the first place, you have to dedicate 3 monsters in the field to have an enable normal summon for them to actually come out. And this in itself is not that difficult to accomplish, assuming your opponent has 0 disruption. The average meta deck has to be able to play through at least 1 form of disruption, otherwise it's not considered competitive. So, if you're able to provide 2 forms of disruption, you can kind of shut down your opponent's entire turn, assuming generic scenarios. So with this in mind, getting 3 monsters on the field and a specific named card in your hand, it's already hard to do either of those 2 things in the first place, which just makes it so the card you do bring out has to be absolutely worth the effort, where none of the original God cards are worth that effort. So the ideal situation is being able to successfully resolve Soul Crossing in order to normal summon them from your hand during your opponent's turn. But still, in that circumstance, you still need to have the God cards in your hand in the first place, and their dead cards in your hand unless you're able to actually provide the tribute fodder outside of that. And a lot of the support cards revolve around them being on the field already, which is the hardest thing to accomplish with them. So, cards being too hard to bring out, and not being worth the effort in order to bring them out, with all of the support requiring them to be on the field already. The thing is, there are archetypes in the game which require a whole bunch of tributes in order to hit the field, which have seen competitive play in the past. So it's not like the concept can't work. The two best examples are the True Draco and Monarch archetypes. The True Dracos are able to hit the field a lot easier because they have the effects to allow you to tribute continuous spell trap cards in addition to monsters, and they all have effects on the field that allow you to gain additional advantage immediately. And because they primarily rely on tribute summons, usually only a single one, they're able to play a whole bunch of floodgates to stop their opponent from playing. Whereas with the God card and its support, each one of them requires 3 tributes, which usually involves a lot of special summoning and playing other resources, where you can't just reliably floodgate your opponent with floodgates, because you actually need to perform a lot of special summons. And there's also the Monarch archetype, which was able to solve its problem with requiring tributes for all of its high-level monsters by just printing a whole bunch of spell and trap cards that allowed them to cycle through their deck quicker, search out their key card like crazy, and easily supplement their tribute costs through spell trap cards and vassals that grant them extra tribute summons, bring themselves out of the graveyard infinitely, or summon during your opponent's turn for their immediate effects. Whereas the best thing the God cards have in comparison is Ancient Chant that allows you to search out only the worst God card, and Soul Crossing, which can allow you to summon the God card during your opponent's turn, but only Slifer has an effect that's actually useful during your opponent's turn, who is one of the hardest to search out ones outside of Thunder's Summon, which is not easy to use at all, or using MST on your own mound as a bound creator, or stacking the top of your deck and then using True Name in order to special summon it from the deck. So, in conclusion, why did the God cards fail? Well, because they don't do enough on the field by themselves to justify the resources required to bring them out. And their only support consistently only works while they're already on the field in the first place, where their biggest weakness is just hitting the field in the first place. So, if they were to help fix the God cards to be more usable, they'd have to add more ways to actually get the cards on the field, rather than more cards that interact with them while they're already on the field. So if they had something like Ancient Chant that worked on all of the God cards, that would definitely go a long way to help. If they had more cards like God Slime that can be treated as 3 tribute summons and special summoned easier, that would go a long way to alleviate the massive resource requirement required in order to have them get on the field. And if the specific cards made for them that required them to be on the field had a dual nature instead, where they instead had a good effect that could be activated while the card was on the field, or had a good way of searching the card out if it was not, that would be miles better than what they are now. Which seems to be the direction they're taking with the new Obelisk support, as that's basically what Soul Energy Max does. And to end off this video, I should probably talk about Halaktai, the Creator of Light. This is an OCG-only card that allows you to instantly win the duel if you're able to special summon this card from your hand by tributing the 3 original God cards on your side of the field. I imagine one of the reasons they don't want to give you too many easy ways to get the 3 God cards out is because Halaktai exists, and can allow you to win the duel too easily, which is kind of funny to think about. Alright, and that's the video. Are there any other major God card supports I might have missed? Or do you have ideas for future videos similar to this one? If so, I'd love to let those things down in the comments.
Hello everybody, today I am so excited to tell you about my most recent obsession, the Monument Mythos. Every now and then a series comes along that's so interesting and complex it's kind of a disservice to explain it in 15 seconds, but for the intro I'm going to do just that. The Monument Mythos is an alternate history conspiracy series in which the United States government as well as potentially other world powers are hiding supernatural and Cthulhu-like creatures from the general public. Furthermore, it seems that these powers at hand are wanting to...
No.
The illustrious Stone Tablet series continues. We have gone through 5 of the Stone Tablets.
I haven't looked at Yu-Gi-Oh cards in God knows how long. I don't really remember anything about the game.
Honestly, that's a good thing. You should just keep everything you know about Yu-Gi-Oh in a little black box in your mind, take it out and bury it 6 feet deep in your backyard.
I do remember that if a card says win the game, it's probably pretty great.
Yeah.
I gotta remember that from card. If you could do me a solid, when you show me a card, can you tell me what year it's from?
I'll tell you the general time period.
Sure, okay. So, Obelisk the Tormentor, when did this card come out?
This came out around 2006-ish, 2008-ish. So pretty early Yu-Gi-Oh relative.
Okay, so this is the star. If I remember, okay, I don't remember if this correctly. The stars, I don't think matter too much. The Divine Beast, I think, is also very not relevant unless it's like with the effect. But let me read what it actually does. Requires 3 tributes to normal summon. Cannot be normal set. That means you just can't play the card. It has to be tribute.
You have to sacrifice 3 monsters.
I'm already scared. This card is normal summon can't be negated. When normal summon cards and effects cannot be activated, neither player can target this card with card effects. Once per turn during the end phase, if this card was special summoned, send into the graveyard. You can tribute 2 monsters, destroy all monsters your opponent controls. This card cannot declare an attack. This turn this effect is activated. Wait, hold your fucking horse. What? If you send to the graveyard, does it come back on the board after you're done, or you have to pull from the graveyard?
No, that's cooked. He's gone, bro.
Okay, he's gone, okay. Tribute 2 monsters, destroy all monsters your opponent controls. Okay, that's a pretty good effect. Now, from a Hearthstone perspective, that card is bonkers. In Yu-Gi-Oh, is that good enough? Hold on a second. Wait, it doesn't say win the game, it just says clear the board.
But clearing the board can win you the game.
That's cool. That's not true. Listen, I played it on Hearthstone, so that's not true.
Twisting Nether literally just says win the game.
I mean, it kind of like, if you can't target it, because neither player can target it, you could just have it for I think this is bad. I'm gonna go with this bad. I don't think this is very good.
You are 100% right. This card, throughout almost its entire lifespan, has been absolute. There have been builds that use like monsters that like try and revive themselves, like turn after turn, like the Frog Engine, where theoretically you just set up a bunch of frogs and like you just tribute them for Obelisk. But there's a reason this card only saw play at that and literally nothing else. So yeah, good job, Rory.
That's nice. Still got it.
1 for 1. I'm sure this will hold throughout the video.
It's actually so fucking spooky looking at these cards, man.
Don't worry, this has a little bit less text.
Diabetes isn't one size fits all. Tandem gives you the freedom to manage your diabetes on your terms.
Well, thank God we built you. What a blessing for the community. You understand that it's actually statistically harder for a team to be this consistently bad than it is for them to occasionally accidentally be good. The probability is staggering. Do you have any idea how low our expectations are? You are a factory of sadness.
So, are you willing to admit I was right about Diablo 4? I accept your apology. I tried to tell you guys. I tried to warn you. I warned you. But did you listen to me? Oh, well, most of you did. But some of you did. Some of you held on to hope. You poor fools. I was
This is
eager to
hilarious.
see what Blizzard had planned for Season 1 and how this new season would go over with fans who were still
Let's see
playing
what
the game.
happens with this.
What I didn't expect is Diablo 4 would get worse with the new season update. It would actually get so bad to the point where die-hard fans who were defending it before the season have now completely given up on the game. What on God's green earth could have possibly occurred to sway sentiment so radically? But that's what we're going to find out today. Let's run through some of the dumb, scummy, shady, backwards-ass design decisions Blizzard has made with Diablo 4. This is for the faint of heart, guys, because things are much worse than we could have possibly imagined. Whoopi Goldberg has demanded a refund for Blizzard because Diablo 4 cannot be played on Mac.
How about my favorite game, Diablo? And suddenly now Diablo 4 is not available to me on my Apple computer.
This injustice cannot be allowed.
Give me my Apple 4 because I paid for it. I was all excited for it. I
Okay.
went to play on it, and I'm telling you, this pissed me off. Tell me next time, say, we're done on Apple, but let me have the 4. Let me play on the 4 because you made me so excited.
We are truly living in the worst timeline. Anyways, let's get on to the real stuff. As we all know, every game these days needs a battle pass, otherwise it's trash, garbage, nobody's ever gonna play it. So naturally, Diablo 4 has one. This alone might make it a masterpiece in many people's eyes. However, in most games with battle passes, you expect to earn enough currency in that battle pass to purchase the next one. It's kind of a nice reward for players who don't spend money but invest the time so that they can get the premium rewards in the next pass. Or, you know, you can use the currency to buy specific items, skins, emotes, whatever. They have crafted what is quite possibly the scummiest, dirtiest battle pass ever. If you complete the Season 1 pass, you earn 666 Diablo fun bucks. Ha! I see what you did there. 666? Ooh, that's so cute. Except you can't purchase fucking anything with 666 coins in Diablo 4. Man, you guys should really hire a fucking 4th grade math
Are you serious?
student,
You're just
'cause
gonna
your
use the
math is
same
awful.
thing over
This,
and
of
over
course,
again?
is the same scummy tactic Microsoft used to use with Xbox points before they ditched that concept in 2013. A decade old. Yes, it is that outdated. What Blizzard is doing right now. They create a currency, they create that currency's value, and then they make a fucked up conversion rate so you never have exactly as many points as the thing you want to purchase. That is by design, so you will always feel the need to purchase more points. But Blizzard took it a step further than that. Oh boy, they have been thinking months and seasons ahead with how fucking scummy this is. As one Reddit user points out, if you try to use coins to only buy battle passes, look at this math. With a price of 1,000 coins per battle pass, getting 666 coins means that on your second pass, you'll have 1,332. Great, you can get a battle pass and have 332 coins left over. However, on the Season 3 pass, getting 666 coins means you will have 998, exactly too short of getting another battle pass. This is wild to me because even in Call of Duty, they give you enough credits in the battle pass to buy the next one. Somehow, the battle pass gets worse though, because if you purchase the Ultimate or Deluxe edition of D4, well, it's safe to say you're probably a hardcore fan. You deserve a nice reward for spending that little extra bit of money. So they gave players a premium battle pass, one that Blizzard themselves said could be redeemed for any season. What's that? Maybe you don't like the current season gimmicks and hearts and all that? Oh, that's fine. You can redeem the pass later. However, if you scroll to the seasonal page, it will highlight the Activate Premium Pass option. So if you hit A by accident, oops. Let's see if it counts.
Yeah. I'm not doing this one. I'm not wasting my time. This is gonna be like an hour battle. What happened?
So, if that thing activated,
Did you think it crashed or the game actually crashed?
the game actually just crashed. I hope it crashed and it didn't activate. Like, if that's a one-click activation, fuck you, dude. Fuck you!
And it wasn't that. It was more like I broke. It wasn't even the fact that it was Pendulum. Pendulum is fun to play against. It's just that I break. I was just like, I break. This shuffle was bad.
Say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get it.
You just redeemed the battle pass. Oh boy, that's so unfortunate. Oh, what a bad stroke of luck you just had. Hee hee. Looks like Blizzard just made a little fucky wucky with the battle pass in the UI. Isn't that so cute? Yeah, it's cute how fucking desperate you are for people to keep playing this game. You have to resort to using dark patterns. Are you fucking kidding me? How do your business practices continue to get more scummy? How do you get worse over time? What is a dark pattern? A dark pattern is a UI that is specifically crafted to trick users into redeeming things purchasing things that they otherwise wouldn't have, right? It's a UI without safeguards. When you click log out of RuneScape, it takes 2 clicks instead of 1. So you don't do that by mistake. This is the most basic fucking concept when it comes to user interface design. But it's surprisingly missing in this game. You know, Epic Games used the dark pattern in Fortnite that they ended up having to pay over $500 million for. Yeah, $275 million to the FTC and $245 million to refund players that were tricked and duped into paying for things they otherwise wouldn't have. Obviously, this isn't as bad as what Epic did, but it's the same intention. This would be like if you hit the add to cart button on Amazon and it just purchased it for you and refused the refund. Nope, you click the one button, nope, you're stuck with it. Blizzard is also refusing refunds, right? What they said, once claimed a Diablo 4 Battle Pass cannot be revoked.
Okay, I guess they didn't
Customer
really have a
service
good
is unable to
response.
assist with removing or reissuing already claimed passes. Go fuck yourself. The amount of predatory practices in Diablo into paying for things they otherwise wouldn't have. Obviously, this isn't as bad as what Epic did, but it's the same intention. This would be like if you hit the add to cart button on Amazon and it just purchased it for you and refused the refund. Nope, you click the one button, nope, you're stuck with it. Blizzard is also refusing refunds. This is what they said. Once claimed a Diablo 4 Battle Pass cannot be revoked. Customer service is unable to assist with removing or reissuing already claimed passes. Go fuck yourself. The amount of predatory practices in Diablo 4 is so outrageous at this point.
It's probably like Pentiment or Dark Magician.
Not predatory, you say. Accidentally clicked. It shouldn't be possible to misclick something like this. That's what the UI designers are for. That's what safeguards are for. Are you sure you want to redeem the Battle Pass?
Pressing button X dismantles the gear clearly isn't enough to prevent him from doing it. And so we actually end up adding a safety mechanism that you don't just have to tap a button to dismantle your gear, you have to press and hold the button. And the more valuable the piece of gear, the longer you have to hold it to dismantle it.
In their Season of the Malignant blog post, Blizzard says this.
Okay.
If you purchase the Deluxe or Ultimate Edition of Diablo 4 and want to redeem your Battle Pass for this season, navigate to the Season section of the shop and select the option.
Okay, I'm confused. Why are they both the same
If it ain't predatory, where's the fucking option? This is one of the scummiest things I've ever seen Blizzard try to pull. But once you start viewing Blizzard's decisions with Diablo 4 through the lens of maximizing player retention and revenue, then everything falls into place. It all makes sense.
So if you were a product person, you couldn't change the course of that company very much. So who influenced the success of Pepsi? The sales and marketing people. Therefore, they were the ones that got promoted, and therefore they were the ones that ran the company. It turns out the same thing can happen in technology companies. So the people that can make the company more successful are sales and marketing people. And they end up running the companies. And the product people get driven out of the decision-making forums.
And later we find out that they had dramatically slashed the budget for and it's pretty clear to me that it came from the top, maybe even Kotick directly. They screwed the game that we all wanted to see for money because they thought there was no money.
And the companies forget what it means to make great products.
Have you ever thought about adding servers for previous expansions as they were then?
No. And by the way, you don't want to do that. You think you do, but you don't. So the product sensibility and the product genius brought them to that monopolistic position gets rotted out by people running these companies who have no conception of a good product versus a bad product.
We want to use mobile devices as the platform for a new Diablo game.
They have no conception of the craftsmanship that's required to take a good idea and turn it into a good product. And they really have no feeling in their hearts, usually, about wanting to really help the customers.
So, my theory is Blizzard knew players weren't going to react well to some of the changes they made in the patch. So, to keep some hardcore players invested, they used the dark pattern to trick them into redeeming the Battle Pass.
Oh, shit. Fuck. Let's try out a quick season journey. Like, the first time I got the Legendary Eternal build, I did
once I accidentally dismantled it because we didn't have any safeguards. And I was so angry. I was ready to go over and punch somebody on Duel.
Well, I guess I have the fucking battle pass now. God damn it. That is fucking sneaky, dude. It pisses me off so much. I might as well claim all my fucking rewards.
You might as well redeem those rewards. You might as well grind out the rest of the battle pass. Cause oopsie-doopsie, looks like you redeemed it, fella. Better keep playing Diablo 4. Don't ever stop. Don't ever stop playing this game ever for any reason. Keep playing. Old Blizzard is dead. And if you're like me, it's time you finally realize that.
Well, Blizzard is dead. It is a corpse. It is a corpse being puppeteered by Activision and Bobby Kotick. And it's going to be used as basically a factory to put the Blizzard stamp on things and stoke nostalgia to get sales. And that's it.
I'm about to incur a lot of payments.
Running out of storage space is an issue that 100% of all Diablo 4 players will run into at some point. So naturally,
Whoa,
the new season
straight out that bad late
inventory items that take up more inventory space. It exacerbates the issue even further. The Diablo fans have universally praised the presence of malignant cards in the normal inventory slot. I have not heard a single person criticize this at all.
Oh. He took the maxi challenge. Yeah, I'll take that. I'll take that. Oh, draw. Just in case what I'm playing doesn't work out. Oh, yeah. And I'm definitely activating that. Get that out.
The Gem Tab has been universally praised by all Diablo fans.
Do you guys remember how people were complaining over the fact that gems took up too much stash space? Blizzard fixed that problem. You want to know how they fixed that problem? I can guarantee you that almost nobody's going to be complaining about bag space because of gems. Because your bags are going to be filled with fucking malignant hearts. Holy crap. But look at this shit. This is like 3 dungeons. I'm not exaggerating. This is 3 malignant dungeons worth of items. Are you kidding me?
If this company gave even a molecule of a shit about the fans, about providing a best experience for those fans, limited stash wouldn't even be something we're talking about. But why? Why is the stash space such a contentious issue? Well, it's the same reason they make for 2 seconds longer. Blizzard is trying to kill every single microsecond of playtime out of you. The less storage you have, the more time you spend micromanaging your inventory.
Look at my stash. I don't... Okay, whatever. I guess we're supposed to spend even more time fucking around with our stashes.
Blizzard, can you just cut the shit? Why are you playing stupid fucking games with me and the rest of the Diablo fanbase? Why are you wasting your time trying to trick me and the rest of us into playing this game? Have you ever thought about making a good video game? No! And the game is so fun, I want to keep playing it? Whoa! Radical concept, bro! That's fucking crazy! People don't play video games because they're fun anymore. What? What is that nonsense? You're not nickel and diming us of our precious time. Just make a good video game. How is this such a radical concept? Quality of life? What does that mean? I have no idea. But now because of Blizzard's dog shit game design, players have to figure out their own workarounds for this. They have to create new characters to hold more inventory. Either that, or you just have to say screw it and get rid of the items you don't want to.
I'm actually to the point where I'm going to have to start getting rid of perfect powers that are actually valuable. In Diablo 3, when you would complete a season journey, it would give you an extra task. 1 or 2 or 10 for completing it.
You have to ask for a score.
have to ask for a Slayer playlist in Halo. And they shouldn't have to ask for adequate storage space in a game that is all about collecting fucking loot. The worst part, this is by design. This is intentional. Blizzard did use its community managers to soak up the sniper bullets fired from upset fans and force those community managers to give some dumbass excuse that is so stupid it would have been better if they completely ignored this and didn't even mention it. When you see another player in-game, you load them and their entire stash filled with all their items. This is no different than when 343 said they couldn't add a Slayer playlist to Halo Infinite because of UI limitations. It's like, but you designed these limitations. No other online RPG I've ever played has ever had these issues. How the fuck does RuneScape work? What kind of wizardry is that? My base? Look at all these slots I have in my base. How the hell does this game load this for every other player in the server? That is just insane, dude. Tide goes in, tide goes out. You can't explain that. How the hell did you guys get WoW to work? How did you possibly manage that? That is the greatest technical achievement in modern human history. Okay, so he's also saying that if we weren't forced to load other players, right? Okay, wrong with me on this. If we weren't forced to do that, we could have a bigger stash. Oh shit. Oh no! What's that? Diablo 4 is an always online video game? Gosh. What a terrible coincidence. If only there was a way to make video games playable without an internet connection, but just technology hasn't gotten to that point yet. Hopefully someday. Oh wait, technology has come up to that point because of the Beelzebub mod for Diablo 1. You get 50 tabs of storage right off the bat. If you can pick it up, you can store it. That's the philosophy Diablo games need to have. The Beelzebub mod apparently is also made by one guy. What 9,000 people at Blizzard couldn't. This is what teams are working diligently so that we have one ASAP. Gee, if only you guys worked diligently on this in the 6 years of fucking development time you had. Oh man, were you guys snorting coke in the bathroom and stealing the female employee's breast milk again? Huh?
What the
It's too bad there was not a single brain cell amongst the 9,000 employees who worked on Diablo 4, and not one of them thought to bring up the issue of limited storage space in an RPG about collecting loot. Not one. You expect me to believe you hired fucking vegetables to make this game? No. Obviously, that idea is so outlandish, it can't possibly be true. So the real reason the stash is so limited is by intention. And then they say they're going to try to introduce a gem tab in later seasons. It's going to take time. Why are you guys so efficient? Why do you guys work like a well-oiled machine when you're making the game worse? But when it comes to like easy, no-brainer fixes, it's like, bro, give me 6 months to get order gem tab? Are you crazy? We can't just throw that together in 6 years. Come on, man. Maybe buy some items in the store. Maybe we'll work faster.
This is something that is clearly obvious, has been addressed since day one. Blizzard saying they know this needs to happen, but now we're saying that the gem tab isn't going to be there until season 2, maybe season 3. Like, it just can't take 6 months.
They don't get it.
Not when you have these revenue. There's things like this that are just taking too long. I mean, this is 2023. There's thousands of games. You can't take a year to add a gem tab. If you're evolving that slowly, you're dead. You're gone. It's over.
So in my Diablo 4 review, I talked about how dumb and boring the stats and itemization are. Jesus Christ, itemization are. Jesus Christ, I did not do it justice. I did not even scratch the tip of the penis on how bad and maliciously designed Diablo 4's loot is. Okay, you want to see how crazy it is?
Wow, that's a lot of words. Too bad I'm not Reno.
Holy fucking shit. Look at all these affixes. This section alone is just for calculating damage. Look at this nonsense. Damage while werebear. Damage while werewolf. Damage with werebear. Damage with werewolf. Hey, genius, how about you simplify all that into one that says damage versus dazed, damage versus immobilized, versus knockdown, stunned, trapped, slowed, and tripped. How about damage versus crowd control? No. No, that's too simple, act, man. This is artificial complexity at its most obvious and absurd. I have never seen such an asinine method of calculating damage in any other RPG in my lifetime. So the obvious question, once again, why is it designed this way? Well, if you've been paying attention, you should know the answer already. I'll sum it up for you in one Reddit comment. I feel like I spend more time looking at gear than playing. That is mission accomplished by Blizzard. That was their exact intention. That is why there are so many affixes and pointless niche modifiers that you don't give a shit about. So you spend more time looking at the loot, more time grinding gold, so you can spend more time re-rolling those affixes that you actually want. It's no different than what they do with loot boxes. They put a bunch of dumb shit you don't care about in the loot boxes to elevate the stuff you do care about, to dilute the odds. This is not good design. This is not fun. It's not interesting or satisfying. But again, remember what I said. If you try to understand the logic of Blizzard's decisions and approach these things as if they are trying to make a good game, you're going to be confused. None of this is going to make any sense to you because you have the misconception that Blizzard is making Diablo 4 to be a good video game.
So how do you go about actually advancing this season journey? You check out your objective and you do things like, collect Gallo wine, craft a chip gem. You're actually making me go out of my way to craft a gem. Like at this point, you're just telling me, do this thing because I fucking told you to do it, and you're gonna do it because you're a bitch. Change your gear's appearance at the wardrobe. Why is this study wardrobe? This is literally just a list of fucking chores, dude.
You have to look at Diablo 4 from the perspective of a morally compromised businessman whose only objective is to keep you playing longer, and they will pull out every dirty trick to achieve that.
Interact with 10 waypoints. Oh! Now you know why they purposely removed your waypoints that you had in the Eternal Realm so that they can then make it an objective for you to go back and collect them again. Are you fucking kidding me? And by the way, do remember their original plan was to have you collect all of the altars of Lilith again? This was their original plan? This is what they had planned?
Well, I didn't need 30 damage affixes to play D2 for 12 years. Don't you think that having a good system will more likely retain players than artificially prolonging the game?
What you say is heresy.
You think you could just make a fun video game and people will play it for no other reason than that? That is not what the data says. That is nonsense. Baldur's Gate 3 and Elden Ring thoroughly disprove this idea. This is why I'm so worked up, okay? Blizzard has zero fucking respect for your time as a player. And therefore, you should give them that same level of respect. Fucking zero. Damage with frost. Damage with cold. Bro. Say psych right now, dude. So, with that being said, here's another $1 million question that only people with an IQ of above 160 can get right. Why did the preseason patch nerf damage across the board? So it takes longer. The only question needs to be asked in the campfire chat. Please explain why you believe the game is more fun after the changes than before. Why? Because shut your fucking mouth. That's why. Shut the fuck up, turn your brain off, and keep playing. Don't ever stop playing. Don't ever stop playing Diablo 4 for anyone.
To, obviously acknowledge everyone's feedback in regards to reducing player power. We know it is bad. We know it is not fun.
Can you ask the dev team why they hate me so much as well as other sorcerers? Again, you see the same type of bewilderment from all the Diablo fans who are under this misconception that Blizzard is trying to make a good video game for them. They can't make sense of why the game is getting worse, more tedious, and boring. Some of the nerfs they made are such an oxymoron, I have trouble believing this is not an inside joke like an ironic comedy of errors. Cooldown reduction often felt mandatory due to their raw power. We imagine cooldown reduction will remain a highly desirable stat, but the penalty for not prioritizing it won't be as harsh. This stat is highly desirable by every single build, therefore we're making it worse, which in turn makes it even more desirable. This is the path we've chosen instead of buffing other builds. But that's how Diablo 4 has gotten worse. What do you think? Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. I'm going to be limiting the comments to just 100 comments, so, see, because when you click this video, it has to load all the other comments from everybody else who's posted one, so I'm going to limit that to 100, okay? Alright, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. video, leave a like if you did, and subscribe to the Yak-Man for more awesome content. Alright everyone, that's all I got for today. This is the Yak-Man signing out. Peace!
So, stop holding out hope that Blizzard is going to come
Last
back.
person takes the turn.
Everyone who founded Blizzard, all the principles that Blizzard was founded on, they're gone or they're dead. They've been desecrated. So, let Blizzard go. That's my main message, is let Blizzard go. Appreciate what was created back in the sun, and stop holding out hope that it's going to come back.
With the price of just about everything inflating these days, you may wonder why Mint is deflating the price of Mint Unlimited from $30 a month. Well, it's easy. We know a great price on a great product is better than one of those things. Big wireless release, things actually work. This phone's never seen the light of day. All right.
Giant mechs, lethal assassins, alien invasions, pro wrestling, Jumanji-style video games, talking cats, and haunted schools. It might sound like I've just described the entire video game spectrum, but what if I told you that this was all from one franchise? A franchise so bizarre it rivals the best of them. Heroes. It's a universe created by legendary game director Goichi Suda, or at least otherwise known as he and a talented team at Grasshopper Manufacturing are cult classic maestro.
I already clicked. Alright, after this duel, I'm popping off. It's time for me to eat some lunch. Okay. Shove it, my friend. What? Okay, here's my first one. I can eat. I ain't gonna do shit. So, we get 600 health. No, chill out. Tranquilo. I love the sword. Next. Oh, nah. It's a cycle. He's synchro climbing. That's the end? Oh, buddy, you're just only gonna draw one card then. I feel bad. Activate. Nah, this isn't Pendulum, this is Synchro. Oh. You gonna banish extra deck cards just to get rid of my Grandmaji? But he messed up already. I don't even know what that is. I'm just simply chilling. Oh, they messed up now. Yeah, that's fine. Take control of it. Cool. I'm not worried about it right now. Okay, he's going for game. Yeah, he's going for game. Nah, he got it. I'm gonna have to try. Of course, you're gonna make Eagle. No red eyes. No red eyes fusion. In Maxi, just in case he does special summon stuff. Let's see. He messed up already. Just be a pest. It's like, no. Just in case. That's fine and dandy, but You're still good. Hold up, give me a second. Let me go to my save replays. Yeah. Let me see my casuals. Okay. Peace out, peoples. It was fun while it lasted.